Once again, welcome back to my YouTube channel. As we all know by now, it's Conversations with Dave. So firstly, I actually want to ask you the question, do people actually understand the importance of self-improvement? And do they really understand when it comes to self-improvement, it's a never-ending journey? Now, the reason why I say this is because people think that when it comes to self-improvement, there's a point where you actually stop in terms of whatever the case is that you have achieved in terms of the long-term success that you want to achieve. But that's not the case. Once you start a journey of self-improvement, you need to understand it's a lifelong journey. It's something that becomes incorporated with your DNA. It's something that it becomes identifiable with you, your personality, who you're about, your brand at the same time. And those are the things you need to understand as well in terms of self-improvement, because as it is a lifelong journey, it's something you continuously start to adapt without you even realizing, because you are an individual that sets out continuous goals for themselves. So here's the thing. You need to understand when it comes to self-improvement, it's basically you unlocking different phases of your life. When you unlock these different phases of your life, you need to become a different version of yourself, or should I rather say a much more improved version of yourself. Now you're going to ask yourself, or you're going to ask me, how do I become a more improved version of myself? Well, here's the thing. There are certain characteristic traits that you need to develop, that you need to harness, that you need to become better at. And one of those traits and one of those characteristics, the first one, is very vital. Before you can think of anything that's physical, anything that is out there in terms of self-improvement, it starts with your mindset. Now, when I say it starts with your mindset, I mean you need to develop a growth mindset. So in order to do that, you need to become an individual actually that is able to harness positive thoughts. Now, when I mean you need to harness positive thoughts is the fact that whatever you think of, you need to realize that your thoughts create your reality. That's how it is, especially if you can understand how your subconscious mind works. You'll start to realize that your thoughts are very powerful in what cultivates your reality, what becomes your reality at the same time. So if you're an individual who tends to actually be negative towards things, if you're an individual who never looks at the brighter things in life, if you don't view your own future, your own road to success in a positive mindset, just because of the challenges that you tend to experience along the way, trust me when I tell you, the outcome of what you want to achieve, it's not going to happen the way you would really like it to be. Because already from your mindset, you've told yourself that you can't do it, that it's difficult, and when you start applying the action towards it, it's negative action that's applied towards it. Whatever you need to do, you do it in a negative state, compared to another individual who tends to actually cultivate positivity in terms of their perspective on life, in terms of how they maneuver life, regardless of the challenges that they actually might be encountering at the same time. If you can be that person who's very positive during difficult times, and you be that person who actually cultivates positivity in terms of what you're doing, you start to act it out. That's something you need to understand. It starts up here. And once you conquer up here in terms of positivity, you start to have that attitude of being positive. You start to do things in a much more purposeful way, an intentful way at the same time. So when you do those things, the right actions that are in line with your goals that you want to achieve, the success you want to achieve, when you do it in a purposeful way, in a positive way, the more likely you are to be able to achieve what it is that you've set out for yourselves. So you need to understand, regardless of the situation, regardless of the challenges, but if you can cultivate positivity in whatever you're going through, trust me when I tell you, most of the time you will be successful. And at the end of the day, a person who's able to do that during difficult times is also building mental fortitude. All right. So I hope we all understand that and we get the fact that your mindset is extremely important when it comes to self-development in terms of you actually unlocking those phases of your life, becoming a more improved version of yourself. The second thing I want to focus on, and it actually goes hand in hand with mindset, it is optimism, being optimistic. So you need to understand, in order for you to become a person who's optimistic in the world, you need to have obviously conquered your mindset. You need to have actually trained your mindset on being able to be a positive individual regardless of what you're going through. So when you're optimistic, now you're different from everybody else around you. All right, most of the time, if you've realized, people who are successful, they have a different perspective in terms of how they view life, in terms of how they view challenges. Instead, people who are optimistic view challenges as a place where they can actually find solutions. And if you can be an individual who can find solutions within problems, most of the time, an optimistic person is able to create opportunities out of nothing. So if you can be that person who has the trait of being optimistic, you can go very far. You can be able to achieve your long-term success compared to other people regardless of what you're facing. And you need to understand that all these traits that I'm telling you about today, it's not easy, but with continuous effort and trying and learning and understanding how your mindset works, it is achievable at the end of the day. It's all about self-improvement at the end of the day. So an individual who can be very optimistic towards life, towards the challenges that they face, and rather see a challenge as a chance of opportunity, and rather see an obstacle as opportunity rather than just problems. They don't dwell on problems, rather they dwell on solutions. So become that kind of person who's able to cultivate solutions out of nothing. All right. Now the third thing is also extremely important in terms of you growing, in terms of you becoming better, in terms of you becoming a better version of yourself. This is what we call communication skills in the world throughout, regardless of what it is you are encountering in the world. All right, whether it's a professional background, whether it's a personal background, anything in terms of you wanting to achieve your goals, communication skills is vitally important. All right, so you need to learn how to actually actively be able to express yourself. All right, when I mean express yourself, I mean like when you speak to an individual, you don't talk at them, but you talk to them, to be able to deliver the message that you're telling them in a more effective and understanding way. And if you can learn that trait of being able to talk to someone rather than at them, most of the time they actually understand what you're talking about, they actually carry out what you're talking about, and then they can actually understand that you are the type of person that they can listen to going forward. All right, but as much as speaking clearly, as much as you being able to deliver your message in a more understanding way in terms of being a good communicator, you also need to be an active listener. Now, what is an active listener? An active listener is someone who has empath development. Now, when you have empath development, it means now you're not just hearing the person and you're not just listening to the person, but now you're listening with the sense of understanding. You're listening from a point of view where you can be able to validate what they're saying, and you can be able to say it back to them in a manner which you've understood them and provide them with much more constructive feedback. All right. And you need to understand, when you are an active listener, people gravitate towards you. Other people tend to listen to you. Other people tend to want to share things with you. They want to share information, vital information with you. So when you are that active listener, it benefits you in the long run, because there's information out there that you will need in terms of your self-development progress, in terms of your journey. And when you're able to have active listening skills, it can take you very far in life. It's like basically being a sponge of knowledge at the same time. So be that individual who's able to express themselves in a positive way, in a clear way, in an understanding way, where you don't talk at the person, but rather talk. Where you don't actually talk at the person, but rather talk to them. All right. So if you can be that individual who's also able to actually actively listen at the same time, it's a master skill that can take you far in terms of the journey you've decided to take of becoming a better version of yourself, of you achieving the goals you've set out for yourself and the success you just want to attain in the long run. All right. So now the fourth thing, I think it's the fourth thing. Yeah, it's the fourth thing. The fourth thing you really need to work on is discipline. Now this you've heard many times. Our mentors, people we look up to, they will always tell you, when it comes to your goals, your vision, your mission, your long-term success that you want to desperately achieve, you need to have the trait of being disciplined. Now, what is discipline? Discipline is you being able to carry out the habits that are in line with the goals you want to achieve, regardless of how you feel in that moment. All right. A person who has the trait of discipline doesn't need motivation to actually start working, because you need to understand, with motivation, it comes and it goes. So does that mean if you're not motivated today, you're not going to carry out the duties that you need to do in order for you to achieve your goals? But rather, a person who's disciplined, regardless of how they feel, they still carry out those habits. They still able to carry out the things they need to do on a daily basis in order for them to be able to achieve what they want to achieve. They're able to do it regardless of how they feel and on a consistent basis. So that's what you need to have. A trait of discipline is extremely important. Now the fifth thing is very important as well. Everything I've said to you today in terms of the steps that you need to take is vitally important. You need to have the trait of being emotionally intelligent. All right. It's something that many people lack. Emotional intelligence is something that people lack because they get carried away. They act on impulse most of the time. And you need to understand, when you're an individual that acts on impulse, it's easy for anyone or anything to trigger you regardless of where you are. So a person who's actually has emotional intelligence is a person who can be commended for it. It's not easy to carry out emotional intelligence. Trust me, it's not easy to carry it out. But if you can master being a person who's emotionally intelligent, you can actually conquer absolutely anything in the world. Because with emotional intelligence, guys, as you become better, you need to understand one thing. People are going to get jealous of you. As you start achieving the goals you want, people are going to start giving comments. They're going to start sidestepping you. They're going to start trying to distract you. They're going to try poke the bear as much as they can so you can act in a negative way that can hinder your image, hinder your brand in whatever field that you are in terms of what you want to achieve. All right. So if you can harness the skill of being emotionally intelligent and not reacting based on impulse, and being able to take in and just keep moving without giving off reaction that can hurt your brand, that can hurt you in the long run, and that can stop you and distract you from actually achieving what you want to achieve, you are solid gold right there. So be able to master emotional intelligence. Be able to master your emotions. Do not be controlled by your emotions, because I can tell you now, as you climb the ladder of success, as you climb the journey of becoming better, a new improved version of you, remember, you start to go higher and higher. You tend to leave the certain people who are coming up with you behind, or the people who thought that what you are doing is a joke. But when they start seeing you progress in the right way, when they start seeing you achieve, they're going to poke the bear. And mostly when they poke the bear, they want a reaction that can bring you down. So you really need to have the skill set, the trait of being emotionally intelligent. So I hope that actually makes a lot of sense to most of y'all. I hope most of y'all have actually understood these 5 steps in terms of self-improvement, the importance of self-improvement. There's a lot of areas in life where you can actually use this self-improvement. Even in your dating life, think about it. Your dating life is an area where you can grow in terms of self-improvement in every way, shape, and form. Let me just give you a quick example. Now, when it comes to dating, try look at dating as in a way of sales, all right? In the field of sales, if I'm actually making sense to you guys. If you can look at it from that perspective, what does a salesman do when he has to pull in a customer? What does he usually focus on lately? Many salespeople, what they will focus on most of the time, they will actually focus more on the pitch rather than the product, all right? And you need to understand, when you focus on the pitch more than the product, what happens is the consumer can actually see that you actually selling a lie here and there, all right? There's somewhere in the middle of your pitch where you're actually giving off false pitching towards the consumer. But then again, if you focus on the product as the salesperson or as the manufacturer, and you build the product to the point where it's a perfect product, it's the product that everybody needs. Once it's a complete packaged product, sometimes your pitch doesn't even need to be perfect. It starts to sell itself. It's just like in the dating game. You as the gent are the product, all right? So gents tend to focus on their pitch towards a female. The female is the consumer. So when you focus too much on the pitch, the female can tend to see that you are selling her lies most of the time, all right? And she can sidestep that easily. But you as a gent, if you focus on self-improvement, improving you as the product and becoming better, becoming a better version of yourself, 9 out of 10 times you don't even have to have a pitch. 9 out of 10 times your pitch doesn't even have to be perfect, because automatically you've improved, you've separated yourself from the pack, all right? You've separated yourself from others, you are different, and then automatically they start to attend to you. You get the attention, all right? I hope I'm making sense in terms of what I'm saying. I hope everyone is understanding what I'm saying. I mean, look at your brands such as your Lamborghini, your car brands such as your Lamborghini, your Ferraris. They're not on advertisements, they're not on TV commercials, because the manufacturer understands that they have built a perfect product. They don't need to advertise it. They don't need to pitch it to anyone. Already the consumer market comes to them and buys the cars. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. So what I'm saying is, things like charisma, things like riz in terms of dating, those are great aspects to have in terms of dating, all right? Those are great aspects to have in terms of self-improvement, but those are only going to get you into the door. What's going to keep you in the room, what's going to keep you to own the room, is your self-improvement, becoming a better version of yourself, because you obviously stand out compared to the rest of the pack, all right? So your riz, your charisma, all of that right there is just add-ons in the long run. Those are just add-ons. Yes, it's great to have them, but focus on you becoming a better person. Focus on you becoming a better version of yourself for you to achieve all the great things that you desire in this world, all right? So I hope you guys understand the 5 steps I gave you in terms of self-improvement, the importance of self-improvement, and how you can actually unlock different phases of your life in terms of what you want to achieve in this world, because every phase you go through in this world is going to require a different version of yourself. Once again, guys, it's Conversations with Dave. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.